From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Blakely McHugh. Our Cronkite News reporters work in teams to cover specific issues important to all Arizonans. Those beats range from consumer to business, from education to technology. Tonight, we're taking a look at stories from the Borderlands, border rescues to Syrian soccer teams.
Presenters at the National Council of La Raza conference say that while voter registration and turnout continue to increase in the Latino community, there is still more work to be done. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein went to the NCLR conference to learn about a curriculum meant to increase voter registration in Arizona.
Ricardo J. Tello voted for the first time in the 2016 presidential election, shortly after he turned 18. He's the first generation in his family to vote and says he felt a lot of community pride.
Pride that I was one of the very few Latinos that actually got the opportunity to vote.
Tello was one of the speakers this weekend at the National Council of La Raza's workshop on Latino voting. NCLR is helping people register to vote and is encouraging voter engagement. Senior Civic Engagement Project Manager Janet Hernandez discussed a pilot program called the NCLR High School Democracy Project. The aim of the curriculum is to get high school Latino students who are turning 18 to think about voter registration, know who is running for office, and to learn more about the process.
There's approximately 1 million Latino citizen youth that are turning 18 years old every year, and they're citizens.
Hernandez also says that while millennials are the largest generation in the country, they also have one of the lowest voter registration rates in the United States. As part of the curriculum, schools held mock elections and registered voters through an app. The curriculum is currently implemented in 16 states and could soon be here in Arizona.
We have several affiliates that are part of the NCLR network that we're in conversations with right now so that they can use the curriculum, work with schools in the regions, work with their youth programs throughout the state.
Tello was able to register to vote through the curriculum, which was implemented in his school in Texas.
It just got me interested in the politics, that I could actually do a difference, that my vote would actually count.
In downtown Phoenix, Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
The second year of the curriculum kicks off in September. Hernandez says they're hoping to grow and implement the program in approximately 100 schools in about 25 states.
The National Council of La Raza is returning to its roots here in Arizona on its 49th anniversary. Cronkite News reporter Lilia Calvillo looked deeper into the history of what has become the largest Latino-led organization in the country.
The NCLR conference will take place this Saturday, July 8th through the 11th. 7 years ago, they joined a boycott because, quote, the amount of prejudice and harassment our Latino community was under, end quote. But now they are ready to return to Arizona and bring with them Latino leaders from across the country.
Fighting segregation of Latinos and defending the rights of farm workers were some of the reasons that led to the establishment of the Southwest Council of La Raza in 1968 in Phoenix. Almost half a century later, they have presence in Washington, D.C., and are known as the National Council of La Raza. They advocate for immigration reform and Latino voter mobilization.
The biggest kind of area of focus for the NCLR is to make sure that we're defending the rights of Latinos, protecting the rights of Latinos, but also advancing the rights of Latinos across the country.
In 2010, NCLR joined nearly 50 civil rights organizations in an economic boycott to protest SB 1070, a state law that expanded police powers to check a person's immigration status. Arizona lost almost $490 million in tax revenues and earnings due to the cancellation of conventions on the first 7 months since SB 1070 was signed into law, according to a report from the Center of American Progress. A year later, they ended the boycott, drawing criticism.
NCLR was not the one that called a boycott. They were the first one to call it off, but with no consent. And at the same time, we continue with the boycott. We still say it's a boycott against Arizona. Why? Because things haven't changed.
Now, NCLR Governing Board member Luis Avila said they are ready to come back to continue their work.
So I think this is an opportunity to celebrate Arizona, but also to share best practices from Arizona with other places in the country that are now having to go through, unfortunately, the same fight that we went through in 2010.
Petra Falcon, the executive director of Promise Arizona, an affiliate of NCLR, is among the ones being recognized.
About really building up the leadership and letting our young people know that we were all young once and that we are looking forward that our youth today are going to be the leaders, not only at this moment, but also of taking shape of what really needs to happen to correct the things that are still hurting people.
The convention will feature a family expo and healthcare town hall where the discussion of protecting and defending healthcare will be addressed. In the broadcast center, Lilia Calvillo, Cronkite News.
Members of the Puente, Arizona Human Rights Movement gathered to write letters to detainees currently at the Eloy Detention Center. Cronkite News reporter Lilia Calvillo shows us what the impact these letters have on their recipients.
Adela Lozano has been writing letters to her husband in immigration detention for 2 years. Now she does it for others as well.
The time goes by slow for them. It's very sad to be there, and their consolation is receiving a letter.
Lozano is part of Uno por Uno, or One by One, an organization that supports immigrant detainees held at the Eloy Detention Center. As part of their initiative, they write letters to people facing deportation.
The letters are delivered to this immigration detention center in Eloy, run by a private corporation known as Core Civic.
The truth is, when we're detained, morale no longer exists for us, and we feel unprotected, humiliated, segregated, and discriminated. Receiving the letters made everything change. My companions smile again.
Juan Miguel Cornejo, an asylum seeker, joined the group as soon as he was released from being in detention for 8 months.
I felt reassured that there were people fighting for me and the others detained, and that made me remain hopeful even during the most difficult times.
Volunteers not only write letters, but also fundraise to send them money for food and personal care items like toothpaste and deodorant. Sometimes they visit just to lift their spirits. In Phoenix, Lilia Calvillo, Cronkite News.
After this event, the Eloy Detention Center received 47 letters.
And we now know hundreds of contractors have put in bids to build President Trump's proposed border wall, which would include the entire length of the Arizona-Mexico border. Cronkite News reporter Lauren Negrete discovered some bids intend to be more than just a barrier to entry. Lauren joins us now from our Los Angeles bureau.
Hundreds of those bids are expected to go forward, and see, the government is expected to pick 10 of the companies, and they're going to build prototypes that'll go along the border.
Among those companies waiting to hear back is Concrete Contractors Interstate, who hopes to exploit their home court advantage.
We think we got a product that the request is calling out for. Nobody has come close to a solution better than ours.
Baumgartner says his project is cost-effective and safer to build. His design includes a patent-pending Icon wall system. They start constructing pieces on their sides before using cranes to position the panels.
We don't require posts. We use an all-concrete horizontal buttress that's poured last at the bottom of the panel that connects the panel to the footing. It's an extremely effective way to build a wall.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection tells Cronkite News in an email that they will build prototypes in San Diego. That's because of accessibility to the border and the ability to evaluate the wall as part of a larger existing infrastructure system.
With the submission of the border wall designs, Baumgartner faced a lot of concerns on the political level, with the fact that over half his employees are Hispanic. He assured them that he looks at it only as a business deal and a great opportunity for his company.
Russell is the builder, but the artist is his wife, Jo. She's determined to make sure their product isn't just a barrier, but rather beautiful too. It includes glass artwork, and each piece is hand-cut and painted.
I would use the colors of the topography and the landscaping. Every region can have its own story on the border wall.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection anticipate that construction to begin in June. In Los Angeles, Lauren Negrete, Cronkite News.
As a result of changes in immigration policies, it is possible that many people will receive or have received letters of deportation from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, known as ICE.
Reporter Joanna Restrepo took a look at what life would be like for those who chose to seek sanctuary in a church to avoid deportation.
Ismael Delgado and Sixto Paz have lived in the U.S. without documents for decades. Both received letters of deportation for different reasons. To avoid being separated from their families, they made the decision to seek sanctuary in the church Shadow Rock. But life in sanctuary, they say, is not easy, the hardest part being their concern for their families. Paz, who thought he was only going to be in sanctuary for 2 months and it's now been 10, says his family's financial situation keeps him up at night.
I don't provide anything to my family, and I got my house, and I got my trucks, and I got my family, and I had to, and I feel like it's time to go back to work to provide something to my family.
Not being able to financially support their families is only one of the obstacles these men face.
I worry about my family's safety.
Delgado says there have been many times when he wanted to give up. Staying close to his faith, however, is what's given him strength.
It makes me feel I'm doing the right things, fighting for my case, fighting for my family, fighting for anything I have to do it, I'm gonna do it for my family.
They have different cases. Delgado had a felony on his record that cost him his work permit, while Paz was pulled over during an immigration checkpoint in 2009.
Sometimes I feel like a garbage because I work in the United States for 32 years, and now I got 48 years. I feel like I'm strong, but I'm not strong enough.
Paz had no criminal record, but still received a letter of deportation, leaving him with the option of seeking sanctuary to stay close to home.
I want to keep fighting for my family and for my future.
Although Paz and Delgado live in sanctuary, they don't hide. They believe that sharing their story could help give strength to somebody in a similar situation.
We have rights. And if the people who is passing this hard situation, they can fight for these things too.
Shadow Rock has had 4 people in sanctuary the past 2 years. Pastor Ken Heiselman told Cronkite News that to welcome more people, there has to be an agreement between the person's attorney and the church to set up a plan.
Growing concerns about mass deportations have led several organizations to hold forums for immigrant families. I attended one of these forums hosted by the Phoenix Union High School District to learn more about the effort.
Where are your parents from? Are you kidding me? We have the right to remain silent.
Volunteers put on a role-play exercise to show families how to handle being stopped by immigration authorities. It's part of Phoenix Union High School District's effort to inform parents.
So we were calling it Immigration Community Resource Fair to provide our families with know your rights, with role plays, with resources, and then their agencies are here to connect with our families to provide them one-on-one support.
Support in case a loved one is detained by immigration authorities or deported.
You hear on the news families being separated, students or individuals with DACA being deported.
The forum offered help on where to find legal representation and how to designate a parental power of attorney for U.S. citizen children. This parent was so nervous and afraid he'd only give us his first name, Sixto. He said he's thankful for the information and urges more families to participate in these immigration forums.
The Phoenix Union High School District plans to hold more of these immigration information events in the near future, but does not have specific dates yet.
Alabama Congressman Mike Rogers has introduced a bill that would pay for President Trump's border wall by taxing remittances, the money sent home by immigrants working in the U.S. Cronkite News reporter Katie Berry traveled to central Mexico to talk to families who rely on the money to survive.
I'm so mad. The Sierra Gorda, we found entire villages mostly dependent on money from family members in the United States. In towns like Pinzquintla, residents say there are very few opportunities for work. The vibrant city of Querétaro, a region known for economic growth and opportunity. Many people live here comfortably. But Travel 3 hours north into the rugged mountains of the Sierra Gorda, and it's a much different story. Most families depend on their relatives who are working in the U.S.
I miss him. Anyone would miss their partner, the person they live with and love.
Monica Castillo's husband picks oranges in Florida. She relies on that money to survive. The money is used for food, construction, among other purposes. In this village of only 500 people, residents like Marisela Zúñiga Ramirez say that generations have left for the U.S.
Because over there they pay a little better, and here, well, not that much.
Relatives in the U.S. wire part of their paychecks to support their families here in Mexico.
Are you ready?
President Donald Trump has threatened to tax remittances to pay for his border wall. That would mean less money for the mothers who travel hours to this pet supply store in Jalpan de Cera, where they can pick up cash and dog food. Marta Sandoval makes the 4-hour round trip every 2 weeks. Her husband works in construction and wires money to this store.
The day he comes back, my son won't know him. It's not going to be the same.
Her husband has been gone for 2 years. The former First Lady of Mexico says many families are separated by the necessity to earn a living.
Most Mexicans have an immigrant, a close relative like I do in the United States, and the majority are undocumented.
Zavala is expected to run for president next year. From the politician to the people, all are concerned about the future. Families like the Castillos wait in limbo, worried that new policies in the U.S. could threaten their loved ones and their livelihood. According to the Bank of Mexico, this past year, remittances were the largest source of foreign income in Mexico, surpassing oil and tourism. In the broadcast center, Katie Beery, Cronkite News.
The Department of Homeland Security is reviewing proposals from more than 300 companies who want to build or design the new border wall. I talked to a Tempe company that placed a bid.
CMJ Systems is one of 22 Arizona companies that submitted a bid to build or design the new border wall.
We've identified a whole different approach in being able to have a strength for a wall that's not going to be subject to the inherent problems of steel reinforcement.
He argues that his idea would be more effective than the current border fence and hopes the design for a so-called green wall will set the company apart. The idea is to use layers of recycled carpet to reinforce the concrete wall. He says the material is more sustainable and durable.
Some of our preliminary testing has already proven that it is much more dense, it's much more stronger, and we feel that even from having explosive devices set up against it, it will outperform what would be your typical tilt-up structure.
The company president also estimates it would be more cost-effective to build a wall by using repurposed materials.
I think that the Department of Homeland Security has to consider all options. They would not be good stewards of the taxpayers' money to not look at alternatives that would be about half the cost.
The Department of Homeland Security is expected to announce the finalists in June. Then the selected prototypes will be built in San Diego.
The Border Patrol rescue program, known as BORSTAR, held a demonstration to explain its improved rescue tactics to help distressed illegal border crossers. Cronkite News reporter Sinena Tandon traveled to Yuma for the demonstration.
This April, more than 4,500 undocumented immigrants were found attempting to cross the southwest border. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, BORSTAR was created as a way to reduce the deaths caused by the extreme conditions these immigrants face on their journey to the United States.
Our team's responsibility is to provide a rapid response capability in the event of a search and rescue.
The rocky desert creates less than ideal circumstances.
you're not going to be able to carry enough water or food to last to make it up to where you want to go in the United States.
About a year ago, the calls of distressed immigrants were lost through errors and miscommunication. But now, U.S. and Mexico have solved that problem by collaborating on 911 calls. Now, 911 calls are received by Mexico's C4. There, they process and relay information to Borstar. Then Borstar begins its mission to rescue the immigrant in distress. This flow of information has created a higher rescue rate.
When one country collaborates with another, it benefits them both.
In 2015, there were about 2,100 rescues. That number increased to almost 4,000 rescues in 2016. In Yuma, Sunena Tangin, Cronkite News.
The U.S. Border Patrol reported 322 deaths on the southwest border in 2016. Many people in the Navajo Nation don't have access to running water in their homes. I traveled to the border of Utah and Arizona to learn about the practice of hauling water.
Water is life. It's a saying heard throughout Navajo country, but access to clean running water is a daily challenge for many Navajo residents.
We have to haul in water, to live off of it.
Mark Holliday, who lives in Monument Valley, does not have running water in his home and must haul water from the local well. People fill up whatever they have and travel back to their homes with their giant barrels, coolers, and plastic jugs, a practice that is time-consuming and costly.
You have to stand in line. During the summertime, there's a lot of people that are in line. You have to stand in line for an hour to 2 hours.
Some residents travel miles on dirt roads up to 3 to 4 times a week.
There are very mixed emotions among the Navajo people in this area. While many would like to see more access to clean running water, others are resistant to change.
We're used to it. I mean, we've always done this since we're small, and it's not a big deal.
Still, the demand for running water is high, and the Navajo government struggles providing infrastructure to homes in rural areas. Jason John, Navajo Water Resources branch manager, says they need $600 to $700 million in order to bring running water to anyone who wants it.
The challenge there is the United States or the Indian Health Service only gets about $10 million a year to tackle that $600 million of listing.
The Navajo Indian Health Service has started a list of projects that need attention, but they still need money. For now, residents continue to haul water. Holiday hopes more people appreciate the sacredness of water that many Navajo residents understand all too well.
Nonprofit groups like Dig Deep and the Black Mesa Coalition also work to help get the Navajo Nation running water.
Syrians continue to try to flee the country, especially after this month's chemical weapons attack. And Arizona is sixth for largest number of refugees received. Reporter Kanak Jha tells us how these families are becoming a part of the Phoenix community.
4,100 refugee families have resettled in Arizona since 2016. Despite debate over banning refugees, 2 volunteer groups are helping families find financial stability and community through the art of baking. Baklava and Turkish coffee are the staples in this Syrian refugee kitchen, and so is hospitality as they adjust to their new home.
We ran away from terrorists to save our families. We didn't like the war. We didn't like the violence, and no place like home, but your home where your heart is.
And Refugee Connection Phoenix and Syrian Sweets Exchange are showing these newcomers like Iman Ashopalap a lot of heart. The groups hope to dispel cultural misconceptions.
I mean, because they're lovely, wonderful people, and they are just, trying to do the best they can to fit into a world that's so different from what they knew.
The volunteer groups also try to set refugees up in business.
Yes, it helps us, and we can meet people through this event.
Like many Syrians, Lady Alzo is a skilled baker, and now she is selling many of her breads and pastries, which help support her family.
I think the first baked sale was so inspiring for everybody because they had no idea it would be such a big success. So we had more people show up than we had sweets to sell, which is a good scenario to be in.
The bake sales are quickly expanding to catering and other small businesses. This entrepreneurial spirit is not unknown to Syrian families. 11% of Syrians in America are business owners, according to the Center for American Progress. Aposhalap hopes that her work can help her children succeed.
good future for my kids, because that I come here for my kids.
The next Syrian Sweets Bake Sale will take place at Congregation Beth Israel in Scottsdale this Sunday. The organizers say they will continue to plan events to help refugee families settle into the valley. In the broadcast center, Kanak Ja, Cronkite News.
Soccer is helping young refugees adapt to a new life here in Arizona. I spent some time at practice with a team that has players from half a dozen countries. There is a dogged determination in the eyes of these boys, players for the North Phoenix Christian Soccer Club.
When we're in the field, we're the same family. No matter what we are, we play as a team and we win as a team.
There's unity on the soccer field, even though everyone you see is a refugee from a different country. Team captain Anthony Tu left Thailand 10 years ago with his mother and 5 siblings, but lost contact with his father.
Because there was a war going on, and my parents was trying to escape the war and have peace.
All of the players are coping with being separated from relatives in their home countries.
I want them to be here because we can be like family like we was before.
Karim Bagala and other players are upset about the travel ban and how refugees are portrayed by some politicians.
These kids are just human like anybody else. They're not terrorists, by any means.
Alondra Ruiz Vasquez is part soccer mom, part teacher, part therapist.
If it weren't for soccer, I wouldn't be so successful in school right now. And with all of that, I'm really grateful for that.
Ethiuso is now a U.S. citizen about to graduate from high school. Not only do these guys get to play soccer and be active, they get to bond with other refugees who share the same experience that they do. It's teamwork on and off the field.